Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the GSC Zoom Q&A. I'm Datti, Jinkiri, Sports Information Coordinator for the Gulf South Conference. I'm here with Evelina Teran, a volleyball player for University of Montevallo. Evelina, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today. How are you?
Doing fine. Thank you. So in the midst of this pandemic and also Hurricane Sally, how are you and your family doing?
Luckily, we have fared very well. Hurricane Sally came through my hometown this past week, which was a little overwhelming at first, but getting that call Thursday night from my family saying, hey, everything's fine. You know, we had a little power outage, but the power's back on and we're all okay. That was really relieving for me. As for the overall pandemic, it was definitely interesting at the beginning. My younger sister has an immune deficiency and my dad is much older, so we did not leave the house when this first started. And there's definitely still some hesitation from them in regards to going out and seeing new people and things like that. But we're rolling with the punches.
Absolutely. I'm glad to hear that your family's doing well. Also, prayers go out to our colleagues at the University of West Florida and other residents of Alabama and Florida as well. I know Spring Hill is an affiliate member of ours as well, so our prayers go out to them. Just another question. What type of training do you usually do over the summers, and was that affected at all with this pandemic?
Okay, so during the summer, I typically try and go to the gym to finish. So each summer they give us some workouts that we should try and do throughout the summer just to stay in shape and take care of ourselves. So I try to go to the gym and work out, get some weights in, and then try to play as much volleyball as I can. But obviously this summer, the gyms were closed, so there was no weightlifting. There was no going in 3 times a week and saying, okay, I'm going to go through this workout. So it was more like home workouts. And then when things started opening up again, that's when I actually started playing a lot of volleyball. And typically I'm an indoor player, which is great. I love indoor, but there's just not a big indoor community in Fort Walton. So I switched to beach volleyball. I found a group there. They played a lot of beach, got really competitive, got really better at the game. And honestly, I think playing beach really changed my indoor game. I definitely saw the changes when I came back. I really enjoyed that aspect too, because the people that I played with were very competitive and wanted they're like, I want to make you better. I was like, I want you to make me better. Teach me new things, show me new things. And yeah, it was definitely a different summer, but overall it was pretty great.
Good to hear. So I know you played a lot of outside hitter as well as right side hitter. And I'm a novice when it comes to volleyball. I was a soccer player. Okay. And I'm sure the others watching that are novices as well. I mean, could you just give a quick description about your main role with those positions?
Okay, so the main thing about outside, there's a lot of different responsibilities that you have. One of the things as a player in general is that you have to be very loud, very vocal. You have a lot of control on the court and you need to be able to handle it. The other thing about outside is you have a lot of actual physical volleyball skills that you need to be good at. Outside serve receive, that's where the play starts. If you don't have a good pass, you're just setting yourself up for more problems down the road. So it has to start with a pass. You have to be able to set out of system. You have to be able to swing out of system. That's a really big thing for us because everyone wants to see the really cool plays where it's super fast and everything's going great and it looks easy. Volleyball is not easy. There are definitely plays where it's a mess. And the last resort, the only thing they can do is throw you a high ball outside and you have to decide, okay, do I be super aggressive with this? Do I just get it in? You have to have all these things going on in the back of your head. And then another right side has a lot of those as well. But another main thing that you have to focus on is blocking. Right side's jobs is to shut down outsides. They are the person who's literally this is my hitter. I'm going to block her. I'm going to make her go around me. And they have an important job. So I'm having played both. It's definitely a lot.
Interesting. So it sounds like you mentioned there are a lot of offensive responsibilities, but also a lot of defensive responsibilities as well.
You have to be good on both sides.
Absolutely. That's really interesting. Thank you for explaining that. So you mentioned your primary skill set for being an outside hitter or a right-sided hitter. I mean, are there any other skills that you've worked on in an attempt to become a more versatile player that aren't necessarily primary skills for those positions?
So one of the things that I really take pride in my volleyball education growing up is my coach before I even got to college, my coach in club, He told us the first practice, he goes, you are a volleyball player. You are not an outside, you are not a right side, you are not a middle, libero, you are not a position. You will learn how to do everything, because you never know when you're going to get in a situation where you're going to have to step up and do something that you don't typically do. So growing up, I learned to do everything. I've played outside, right side, middle, I've played all 3 back row defensive positions. I've worked on out of system setting, serve, receive, like basically anything in the game he made us work on. And I think that was one of the things that I really enjoyed growing up, because then when it came to picking what I wanted to do, I was like, well, I can pick any of the skills because whichever one I liked best. And then it's really nice because then when you go into practices each day, there's always something else for you to work on. You can master one skill, but in like one position, but it's so much harder to master everything. So it always gives you stuff that you can be working on. And that's definitely something I take pride in, and how like versatile I've been, just because like he specifically was like, you're not a position, you're a volleyball player, and you're going to learn how to do everything that volleyball has to offer.
Really interesting. So like coming into this season, what individual goals did you have coming in?
So I feel like every senior kind of goes in with this mindset of, this is like the last ride, like go big or go home. But this year is obviously a little different because we don't even really know if we're going to get that last ride, if we're going to have a season. We don't know when our last practice is going to be. We don't know if our last game is going to be our last game. So one of the goals that I set for myself coming in was, I'm going to enjoy every moment as if it is my last, because it's very possible that it could be. And I don't want to walk away disappointed. I don't want to walk away thinking that I could have done more. I don't want to have a bad practice and think I have tomorrow and then realize that they shut athletics down. Like, I want to enjoy every second because I am doing what I love. Like, this is the dream. Like, this is what little, 14-year-old me was wanting to do with her life for a little bit. And here I am. So that was just my main goal, was come in and have fun, by golly. Like,
No, absolutely. And I just want to take a turn towards the more academic side. I saw that you're a mathematics major, which I looked at that and I'm just kind of like, man, I could never do that. So a lot of respect to you for doing that.
Thank you.
So what made you interested in that area, and what do you plan on doing with it?
So this is a really kind of interesting story, because when I was in high school, I took a lot of AP classes, like a lot of challenging classes, and I had really good grades, but the only classes I struggled in was math. Like, those were the only B's on my transcript, like things like that. And I would get frustrated. I'm like, why is this so challenging? But then I got to school and I was looking at all like the potential things that you can major in. And I was like, oh, this is boring. I don't like this. I don't think I'd be very good at this. This isn't interesting enough. And then I saw math and I was like, this is a challenge. And if there's one thing about me, like, people should know, is I like to be challenged. I like to be pushed. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take the thing I struggle with and I'm going to make it my career. Like, I'm going to figure this out and it's going to challenge me and I'm going to grow. And my first semester here, like, I took calculus in high school and it did not make sense at all. And then I got here my first semester, I think I finished with like 110 in the class. It just, like, a light bulb went off and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I love this. And so I just started taking more classes in math. And then I got an internship at the Air Force Research Lab after my freshman summer, doing like applied mathematics and working in like an actual lab and programming and things like that. And it was very, very challenging. My mentor pushed me really hard, but at the end of the day, like, looking at a project and coming up with like an experiment and getting to a result, I said, whoa, I just did something that like people are going to use to solve real world problems. I said, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to solve problems and I want to make like a difference. And as I kept getting older and doing more math stuff, because there's a lot of different math, people always think, oh, it's just numbers, but there's so much that you can go into. And one of the things I also really love is space, like exploration, things like that. Like, I am president of the astronomy club that we have here. I work at the observatory. I just love that aspect to it too. So when I decided, like, this semester, I said, you know what, I think I want to do space vehicle research. So, those rovers that they send to Mars and things like that, I want to be one of those applied mathematicians who helps, get those things off the ground and has those launches and things like that. Because I think it's really interesting, and it's a way to like incorporate my passion for math and my passion for space into one kind of career that I think I'm going to be really challenged by and also really enjoy.
Absolutely. That's really cool. You know, in the Gulf South Conference, like we want all our student athletes to compete, graduate, and impact. And you're doing a good job with both. So keep up with that.
Thank you.
So we'll finish it out with a few fun questions. What's your favorite meal?
My favorite meal. I am definitely a mac and cheese fanatic. I love mac and cheese. Anytime I go to a new place, I try their mac and cheese. Like there's a ranking in my head of the best mac and cheese I've ever had. I love mac and cheese, so it'd probably be mac and cheese, maybe some broccoli. I don't know. That's my favorite vegetable. And maybe end it off with something like some kind of dessert, maybe like a chocolate cake or like a little piece of brownie or something. You know, you always have to have some dessert in there.
Absolutely. So what ranks number one on your mac and cheese scale?
So there was a food truck that I went to in Gulf Shores that was specifically made for mac and cheese, and it had bacon bits in it. And I was a little superstitious at first. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about these bacon bits, but it was amazing. By far, best mac and cheese I've ever had. I don't even know where the food truck is anymore, and that kind of makes me upset. So, but yeah, that's definitely number one.
It's unfortunate.
I know.
Hopefully you'll find it soon. So
fingers crossed. I'm gonna be on the lookout.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What's your favorite sport or activity or hobby besides volleyball?
So before I started playing volleyball in 8th grade, I was actually a violinist. I played violin since I was 7 years old, and that was basically like my entire life before I found sports. I loved it. I was obsessed with it. Classical music, contemporary music, Disney. I have Disney music books that I can play. It's definitely a stress relieving thing, and it's really nice because sometimes I'll go in there, I'm like having a rough day, and I just go to town, and then by the end of it, I'm like playing the really soft songs and like feeling like, oh, okay, we're fine, it's fine. So that's probably one of my favorite like pastimes. And the other one, I guess, is really like the space exploration, things like that. I follow like NASA, Hubble, things, all of those on Instagram. I look at their websites. If there's I woke up this summer at like 6 a.m. to watch the Mars rover launch that they had. I just love keeping up with that stuff as another pastime.
Really interesting. So I'm waiting to hear about how that you played the violin in the locker room. That never happened.
Oh, it was so my teammates don't even really know that I played violin until one of my teammates walked in to my dorm room and I was playing. And I was playing for like my roommate's two like younger siblings. And she was like, this is very strange. I would never have pictured this, but at the same time, you're Evelina. So you've got a lot of stuff going on. And I was like, yeah. I'm like sending her with my violin, like, hi, Briani, how are you? And she's like, this is new. I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So do you have any pregame rituals or traditions or superstitions?
Ooh, that's a good one. We don't really have a ton of pregame traditions. I think the biggest one for us is just being together as a group. I really do like love our team. I love our team chemistry. And that's one of the things that you'll notice like in the locker room is we have the music up, we're dancing, we're having fun, like we're getting each other excited because it's game day. Like, I don't know, there's just something about that aspect and that closeness, because I loved my teammates in high school and, club, but it just wasn't the same. Like when you get to this level, like these are your sisters, like this is your family. And I don't know, like just having that like knit community of like, yes, like we're all, I don't know, definitely listening to music and jamming out.
For sure. What would you say is your favorite game that you've been a part of since you've been at Montevallo?
So the one that really sticks out in my mind was my freshman year. We played University of Alabama, University of Northern Alabama. It was before they switched conferences. So they were still in our conference and they were ranked way higher than us. I think they were ranked second in the conference and we were pretty down there. And we won in 4. And I remember so vividly because I think I had 15 kills, which as a freshman was pretty great. And then I had 8 blocks and I actually blocked the winning point. So that ball went down, I turned around and everyone was just like running at me. And it's just such like a prominent memory in my mind because the energy, the whole gym, the crowd, the bench, everyone was just so into it because again, it was an amazing game. I mean, I go back sometimes and rewatch it on YouTube because I'm like, it was just an amazing game. And if I could go back and relive that moment, I definitely would, to be honest.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One final question. What's your favorite song or your favorite genre of music on your pregame playlist?
Ooh, so this one's really hard, honestly, because like I have a different kind of music taste than my teammates. So like I'm more than happy to like listen to all like the rap and like pump up songs and stuff, but I also really just enjoy, and it's weird. I like the 80s and 90s stuff, and like my favorite song is Drops of Jupiter by Train. So sometimes if I want to get myself in like this little like, okay, like let's go, I listen to that. But I also really like Imagine Dragons and 21 Pilots and those more upbeat kind of, I don't know, a little bit of rock, but not really. I don't really know exactly what they classify as. But another one I just started getting into is The Score. I don't know if you've heard of that. If you want to get pumped and really feel motivated to like change the world, listen to The Score. So,
I have to look them up.
and again, yes. Yeah, but again, we listen to a broad range of stuff, so it's really hard to like pinpoint exactly like one song that really get me going.
That's awesome. Evelina, thank you for joining me on this episode of GSC Zoom Q&A. Just everybody tune in next week.